and then installing this from a Hyper-V server and a VM, setting up the network stack. So if you're not familiar with Linux, is what I was trying to say, then we're going to go from ground zero to build it out. Now, if you're already familiar with Linux, that's cool. And maybe you're just wanting to see the osTicket deployment or different parts of this, might as well do that. So if you're thinking this is fun, grab yourself a Red Bull. As you can see, I've already done that. And or a cup of coffee or whatever works for you. And we can go ahead and get this started. There it is. Like I said, one of these days I'm going to learn how to hit the right buttons. But I don't think that will be today. Okay, so right now we're on the server. And let me flip back. Full cam. So the server that's right back here. This is what I do most of my videos on. And this is just a nonsense server, but it works for that. And looks great for holding different little items. So let's just jump back over here and we'll go ahead and start building out the VM. As you can see, I currently have some stuff already here, but we're doing something new today. So we'll come over here to new virtual machine. All right. And if you've never built out a virtual machine, it's pretty simple. Essentially, what you're doing is you're taking some of your resources from this server and using it somewhere else for like this virtual machine. So it's its own instance. So we're going to call this one just osTicket. And this one's currently going to be run as Gen 1, but you can run as Gen 2 if you need the additional security features. How much RAM do we want? Technically, it only needs like 2 gigs, but I'm just going to do 4 gigs. And you can set it up for dynamic, so it'll automatically scale up and down if you need to worry about that. This virtual machine has, I think, this server has 128 gigs of RAM in it, so I'm not worried about 4 gigs of RAM. The network, we're going to put it on my core network. Next, hard drive size. And this is one of those areas that when you're setting something up like this, you definitely want to be careful on. Well, actually, let me share my screen because I want to make sure you guys see how important this is. Here I am. So when you're looking at the hard drive size, this is really important, especially for like osTicket or something, because it runs a database, and the database is what stores all your information. That being said, you want it to scale, but yet you don't want it to be a bottleneck. So you don't want to say, yeah, let me give you 10 terabytes, for example, if it's not going to require that. Now, you can always make it grow and shrink depending on your environment. Since this one, I'm not going that far into it since it's just for the video, but typically you'll see where a lot of places will set it as what is known as thick provisioning. So that's saying, yes, this is, you got, say, a terabyte of space for that virtual machine. So the way the database can have that resources automatically there, it doesn't have to check with the virtual machine. This is a common approach for that. And if I'm talking too fast, it's probably because I'm drinking Red Bull, but I'll try and slow it down a little bit. So 128 gigs, like I said, this one, the server I can support up to 64 maximum, terabytes maximum. I'm not worried about that. I know that I'm definitely meeting the minimum requirements. And for those of us that are kind of quirky about it, they recommend 20 gigs is what their official is. So I'd rather have more space than not enough space, and I don't want to worry about it later. So I'd hit next. And then here's where we select the installer, images and ISOs. I already have a bunch of ISOs for what I do. So let's go ahead and do Ubuntu. And they have the desktop version or the server version. I just do the server version because it's a headless server, so I don't really need to have it. Next. And then finish. And double click on osTicket. And if you're not familiar with Hyper-V, essentially this is just the way to run the virtual machine and view it as if you was looking at the actual screen. And like I said, if you're new to Linux, I'll walk you through. All this is the typical boot up process when it's first doing its thing. A lot of people do get intimidated by that at first, especially if you're used to Windows that normally hides that from you. That puts the typical logo over it. All right, so English, and what do we want to install? Ubuntu Server comes with most of the stuff you already need. Now, what a lot of people, I've actually had a couple people ask me this, why do they have this Ubuntu Server minimized? So that's just the bare minimum it needs to install it. So like if you're doing like an Internet of Things or something like that, that's what it would be. Networking, and this is where we're going to set this up. So I want to give this one a static IP address. And you see how it just changed away and how it says DHCP. So I have DHCP on this network. So currently it would get that address. but I want to stat it statically. So we'll go ahead and click on it. Come down here to IPv4, manual, and then you let it sit there for a second, and you'll see it's verifying that that was a valid. I do like that. Next, proxying. So it's going to ask if I have a web proxy for it. No. And the mirrors is so this is so it can get the resources it needs for downloading additional parts of it and updates while it's going through the installer. And then you can get customizable on the disk. So like where we could put the disk on something else. This one right here where it says the encrypt LVM, if you was to want this encrypted for whatever reason for your environment, maybe you have compliance or something, would be the best time to do this. Going back in after you have it built it can be done, but it's definitely not fun. So I'm not going to worry about doing a custom. I'm just going to say, yeah, just go ahead and use the entire thing. And then this will tell you how it has it built. So /boot has its, then everything else goes in that other directory. And it's going to tell me you're getting ready to blow stuff up on your disk. Well, good thing it's a virtual disk, and I'm okay with that. So here's where we can go ahead and start setting our server. I'm going to set something generic, but here's where you would actually set what you would actually want. osTicket, and then my server name. I just realized I did that backwards. I do this all the time. Every time I build out a virtual machine, I start typing stuff. So we'll just put in mine. Ryan for me. Name of the server will be osTicket. And we'll do BRYON. Then I'll type my super secure password. Remember, if you're new to Linux, everything's case sensitive. So where I have that lowercase, I have to remember that's lowercase. All right. And I'm not part of Ubuntu Pro. I don't want to register it with that at the moment. So next, do I want SSH? Typically, you do want SSH. You just hit spacebar. That'll turn that on. If you have your own SSH keys, you can do that. For me, I'm not worried about it for this one. And then these are the additional stuff that it asks you that most people might want to have installed. I don't install them here because I like to go and install stuff after the fact. And just hit done. Okay, so this is what we're waiting to see is right down here where it says where we can view the fall log or reboot now. So everything's already set up. Hit enter. If we wanted to view the log, we could, but I'm not that concerned about it. And I could log in here and do this, but I like being on SSH to do it. So I'm going to SSH into the server. There we go. Disadvantage about having multiple passwords you can never remember. All right. So let me clear this. So one of the first things we always do whenever you're on a Linux computer, like I said, we just SSH'd into it. And before we deploy anything, we want to go ahead and do an update. Even though it said that it did everything, it's always a good idea to go ahead and just do it. And I'm going to copy and paste commands so you guys don't have to watch my fantastic typing skills. But this right here, sudo apt, apt is the package manager, and we're updating. And then after that's done, because it's updating the list, and then here we're telling it go ahead and upgrade. So everything that it was available for upgrade in the list, we're going to go ahead and do it. And the -y says don't bother me and just do it. And that's going to ask me for my secure password. So we need some tools to help us get this entire approach. Now I'm going to hit clear, type clear so we can put it back at the top. And so the tools we're going to install are NetTools and curl and make sure that's there and unzip. Chances are some of it's there, but it doesn't hurt to just go, hey, I want this. Okay. And it'll just tell you that it's already installed. But go ahead and do that. And we can see that there was some stuff it needed. Once again, I'm going to do the clear because I like keeping this at the top of the screen for you guys to see easier. And now we have to install the services that make up osTicket work. If you're not familiar with it, it requires Apache, which is the web server, MySQL, which is the database, and PHP and LAMP stack services. So installing that is going to be very easy. Same concept. And I will also make sure that this is in the full video description. But just hit enter and let it roll. So all of that was installed. Now, chances are it already did start the service. It already enabled the service so the way it'll start next time. I am still the guy that goes through and make sure. So like what I'm doing is saying sudo, so I want root to do this, and I want a system control, and I want to enable Apache every time that it starts. Oh, I meant Apache too. And then I want to start Apache too. And then the same thing I would apply for the database, because I want the database to start. So if my server ever shuts off, I want to make sure that it's back online. And now that I have that back online, I could also restart Apache 2. It's not going to hurt it since I don't have anything on it, but this is the command you would do for that. So now we have to do some SQL configurations, and I'm going to point out I am not the biggest database guy. So this will take you in to manage your SQL, and then as you can see, this different form that we're in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste the whole thing in that I have. I'm keeping my identifier generic, so another strong password. So if I wanted to create more of a secure password, I could. So, but for my database user for osTicket, I want my osTicket user to have just that generic password. I could change it to what I need to and just change it in the settings, but I'm not actually that concerned about it for this. If you did need to, that's fine. But this is where you would do that. And so now we need to go out and go get the osTicket environment. First, we're going to go into the www directory. We're going to remove that generic index. And the reason why we need curl earlier is because we need to go out and download what the newest version is. So we'll go ahead and click that. So that basically went out on the web, grabbed it, and brought it back to us. And now we'll unzip that. And like I said, don't get intimidated when seeing that scroll of text. All right. And if we want to, we can see ls. We can see that those are here. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy and do this. And then they have an example config file. And this is where you would go in, like if you changed that password or something, and you would just set that. And now we have to set the permissions to allow it. So this is changing owner permissions for all of this. And this is changing permissions for the PHP script. And now we have to enable a module for Apache. And we'll need to restart Apache. Right now, we should have this osTicket up and running. So here's where we have this. This is what you should see when you get to the, once we got to this point. You can see it already was doing our checks to make sure we have PHP, everything installed. And so we'll click continue. And so help desk name. Just going to say tech. And as you guys can see, you go in and fill this out. I'm going to just put in some generic stuff just for, here is the part that confuses quite a few people. And you see all this database stuff, especially if you're not a database person. On the commands that we used, it had what database and what password. So under create database was osTicket. So if I come over here and look at this local host name, since the database is installed on this server, it's local. So osTicket. And then the ticket the user we created was this name. And since I didn't change its password, typically you would want to set something a little more secure. But like I said, this one's my lab setup, so I'm not as concerned. And then just paste it in to whatever you change that password to. And I do love that message, just doing stuff. Fantastic. I don't know what stuff it's doing, but it's doing something. And we're 3/4 the way of having this up and operational. So where everyone goes, well, I'd really like to have a ticketing system, but it takes forever to make it work. Nah, not really. So what I would recommend you to do is copy this over to a notepad. So you know where your links are. So like the ticket forms, for example, and your staff one, and your documentations. Like you can have it however you want it, but the ones I would recommend is your ticket URL and your staff portal. So like if I'm going to open this in a new tab, and I'm going to open this one in a new tab. So here's the normal one, but here's the back end side for like your technicians, your engineers, your everybody. So Brian, and enter my super secure password if I can remember what I typed. So this is the side of the back end of it. So you can have your ticketing here, your admin portal. So all your settings you need. So if you need to manage users, email groups, however you want to design it. As you can see, please delete the setup directory for security reasons, because right now anybody can go in here and just blow up your ticket system. So before we do anything else, let me minimize that. And then we're still sitting here on the command line. So what we need to do is we need to remove our setup directory. And this right here, setup. And that's just a comment that I put just so you guys know what I'm doing. Or so way of editing me knows what I'm doing. So by doing this, we removed all the files from the setup directory. And we're changing our permissions to match appropriately. So dashboard. Now that I did this, I'm not actually concerned about it. Let me refresh. So now we don't have that warning. Even when I come in here to... Yeah, I'm still in the admin section of this. All right. So since I'm in the admin, let me go back over to agents, see on how I can go back and forth and it's not throwing that error. One area that I do want you to recommend is if you're going to put this in a production, put it behind a web application firewall or something. This right now is running on HTTP. You can run it on HTTPS, just in a little bit additional steps, but realistically, it's not that difficult. All right. And just like that, like I said, right here, we already have this one done. So if I wanted to come in here and try to get to this installer page again, because I know you're running osTicket, now they can't get in and mess with the back end of that. So it's literally just that easy to spin up osTicket in a lab, or even if you're wanting to run this for production. It doesn't cost you anything. It's maybe a little bit of time if you already have some server resources. Yeah, a little bit of server resources. But say you're a small business or a nonprofit that wants to have a ticketing system or wants to have some documentation flow about what's going on. Or maybe you're a managed service provider and you need to have that. This is definitely a viable solution. There's things you can do to enhance it. Like I said, right now, this is just the base install. So if I wanted to have email communications, if I want to have Active Directory integration, if I want to integrate it with SAML, like the sky's the limit. So if you want just a basic install with local users, fantastic. If you want to have an enterprise grade stack, you can do that too. And it doesn't cost you money. Now, if you want additional support from them and the open source community, that's typically where open source normally makes money. But realistically, it's not, as you guys seen, it's not that difficult to actually set up. And I think that this is a good stop to go ahead. It's a good stop. I swear I've had too much Red Bull today. But I think this is a good spot to go ahead and start wrapping this one up. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And like I said, we're going to go back in and we'll kind of chop up this video and make it a little more shortened, so you don't have to watch all of me fumbling around and all this. But this is how we do it. This is real IT. Until next time, thanks for watching.